Alright, time for a little bit of a backstory. LongLegs was a movie I was interested in seeing as soon as I saw the trailer. A murder mystery thriller where Nicolas Cage plays a serial killer? Yeah, sign me up. And the initial reviews and word online was pretty positive. But then I started to hear some negative things here and there. More so from people in my own personal life. I heard various different opinions from various different people. So I decided to just stream it when it comes out. Then I forgot about it. But fast forward to recently, and the trailer for The Monkey drops and it looks like a blast. And right there it's advertised that this is from the same writer and director as LongLegs. And that's when I remembered that I forgot to watch it. So that's what I'm doing today. Now before going in, these are the 3 different things I heard about this film. Number 1, it's a borderline masterpiece and one of the best horror/thrillers in years. Or number 2, it's pretentious garbage that's not that good. And then number 3, yeah, it's not bad but very overhyped. It's very interesting to see this wide of opinions on this one movie. All I know for sure is that the people who like it really like it, and the people who don't really don't. At least judging from what I've seen online. So here I am showing up fashionably late, and I'm going to tell you where I stand. Is it deep? Is it dumb? Is it a masterpiece? Or is it overhyped? I'm going to let you know now.
What the hell is that?
Well, that was definitely something. So, I didn't hate it. I actually enjoyed parts of it. But the more I think about it, the more frustrating it becomes. Before I get into that, I guess I should tell you the plot first. So basically, you got this FBI detective chick investigating these string of killings that span decades. And she's trying to find the serial killer simply known as LongLegs. So, a psychological thriller/horror that, unfortunately for me, kind of falls flat towards the end. Spoilers going forward because it's the only way I can really express how I feel. But before I get into my issues, I do want to say that I like this film's style. It's creative as hell. It's an undoubtedly pretty damn good looking movie, and it's shot very well. What it does from the moment it starts is bring a sense of dread and uneasiness in nearly every scene. Some shots hang and linger just a little bit too long to make you feel uncomfortable, and have you looking around for things that may or may not be there, because there are several blinky miss it things in the background that happen throughout the whole thing. And when mixed with the score and the sound design, it leads to some pretty unnerving and anxiety-inducing scenes throughout. So in terms of atmosphere and the overall tone, it nails it. I like it a lot, and within like the first 10 minutes, I was hooked. But I won't lie, it does border on almost pretentious with the amount of capital A artistic choices here. That being chapter cards, the switching aspect ratios, the long, slow establishing shots where almost nothing really happens, and the overall 70s looking aesthetic. I can totally see why some people wouldn't like this style, but if you're into it, you'll really enjoy it a lot. Me, I don't mind it at all. I like it. Another thing I enjoyed is the initial premise, and honestly the first 45 minutes or so. I like the main character investigating the murders with her somewhat psychic abilities. Mixing that with that atmosphere, I can say I was very entertained. So like the first half of the movie was pretty damn interesting to me. But unfortunately, that's where my compliments end because there are so many little things that start to pile up. Some of it are specific events that occur in the movie, while others are about certain aspects and how it handles them. So let's just get into that stuff now.
The neighborhood kids love Snickers on Halloween.
So let's get this out the way early. Nicolas Cage. You love him, I love him, the guy's a legend. So he plays Longleg, and I gotta say, the marketing and build-up for his role was clever. They kept him hidden from the trailers and kept teasing him. And in interviews, they talked about how frightening he was. So I couldn't wait to see his performance. Now that I have, I gotta say, man, he was hilarious. Yeah, I might just be an asshole. I mean, fuck it, I am an asshole. But I didn't find his performance scary. A little unsettling and weird, sure, but it was more amusing than anything. I mean, the scene where he's in the car actually made me laugh. Same with him singing Happy Birthday. It was all very entertaining, but I didn't find it scary or frightening at all. It was just mostly funny. I mean, it is Nicolas Cage, so I figured he was gonna play it up a bit, but with how seriously the movie takes itself, I don't think I was supposed to find it as comical as I did. I mean, I don't see this creepy serial killer called LongLegs. All I see is Nicolas Cage with heavy makeup on. Yeah, so even though his performance was very entertaining, it wasn't nearly as scary or frightening as it was hyped up to be. But also, his motive literally being the devil made me do it was pretty disappointing. In fact, there are several elements here that are really not fully fleshed out and leave things a bit underwhelming. For example, it has the very interesting piecing together the murders, looking for LongLegs stuff, you know, the initial hook for the movie, but they find him and he kills himself within the first hour. And when that happened, it made me wonder, well, how are they going to wrap this up? That's when it switches to a more satanic route for the last 30 minutes. It almost switches genres at that point, and it becomes about the devil, which is definitely subverting where you think it was gonna go. But when the killer is caught 2/3 into the movie, and the motive is revealed to be literally the devil made me do it, it just feels hollow. So the hunting for the killer is cut short, so that's underwhelming. And then the satanic demon stuff comes in only for 30 minutes, so that's also underwhelming. Another underutilized element is her pseudo-psychic abilities. So in the beginning, the attention is drawn to it, but after the first hour, it's just not really important or relevant anymore, and just never used to its full potential. Not only that, it's just left pretty vague on exactly how it works, which is fine, but I just wish they used it a bit more. About halfway through the movie, it stops becoming relevant. And then there's just a few few dumb parts here and there that kinda don't make sense. Like, as soon as they get a picture of Longlegs, they find him literally in the next scene just standing on the side of the road. Super convenient. And yes, I do know Longlegs knew he was gonna be captured in this scene, but like, how'd the police find him like instantly? Wasn't really much of a manhunt, you know? Or even in the very beginning, when she catches the father in the act of killing the family, did they ever question him? This is never followed up on. It feels like they forgot about it because I swear I don't remember them mentioning it at all. I mean, this could have made for a pretty interesting interrogation scene and help with the investigation and the overall movie. Hell, this could be a good time to introduce like the whole doll thing, you know? And then there's like a funny thing, like towards the end, she lets her boss kill his wife. She knows it's gonna happen and she doesn't stop it. Like, nothing is stopping her from like stopping him. I mean, she kills him when he comes back from the kitchen. So why didn't she stop him before that? But on a more serious note, why didn't her partner mention the fact that his daughter's birthday is on the 14th? He knows that the families who've been murdered all have daughters whose birthday are on the 14th, and these murders all happen around that date. So he would be a possible target. He made a big deal when he found out the main character's birthday was on the 14th. Honestly, they probably did it on purpose so that it's like a big reveal towards the end, but when you think about it, it just seems like a very obvious oversight. Another thing that didn't really make that much sense is that right before this finale, the phone rings and the main chick answers it, and the demonic voice tells her that she's late for the birthday party. So why would the devil call and tell her to go there knowing full well that she's been trying to stop it the whole time? That decision just didn't make sense at all to me. Like, what's the reason for this? Now, I know it seems like I'm being nitpicky, but this is what I mean. The more I think about it, the more frustrating things get. It's one of those movies where once it's finished, I was like, that was pretty decent. But the more I thought about it, the more questions I start to ask, and the more frustrated I became. Now, I can overlook some plot conveniences. Hell, I watched comic book movies for a long time, so I don't mind when some things just line up or happen just right. I can also overlook some pretty undercooked aspects, but here, all of this just keeps piling up. And not to mention the overall just lukewarm ending. It just makes for a pretty unsatisfying movie overall, which sucks because I love its style, I love its creativity, and the first half is pretty solid, but then it slowly falls apart closer you get to the end, and the more you think about it, just the less sense it makes. And I don't think the comparisons to Silence of the Lambs helped at all. This is something I wish media would stop doing. Basically comparing current films to older ones that are either all-time greats or absolute classics. See, what that does, it creates expectations in your head that this new movie will just never reach. And it's either going to look pretty bad by comparison or at least very disappointing. It happened to The Northman, it happened to Dune, it happened to Shogun, and many, many more. Because to be frank, this isn't anywhere near the same level as Silence of the Lambs, or hell, even Red Dragon, Zodiac, or Seven. Though I do want to mention that the director is aware of the comparisons to Silence of the Lambs, and he stated that he sees it as a way to get people in the door and on board, so to speak. They see the concept for Longlegs, see the similarities between it and Silence of the Lambs, and then they give it a shot. I mean, to be fair, this definitely worked, because it did very well at the box office. But this is also kind of a double-edged sword, because now it's going to be held to standards that it probably can't reach. And considering how underwhelming this movie is, it makes it seem even more subpar by comparison. Okay, to wrap it all up, the best way I can describe it is like this. This is a pretty damn stylish movie with parts of it that are pretty good, with some very interesting ideas, but it kind of falls apart the more you think about it. Now, I'm still looking forward to The Monkey. It looks to be a pretty different vibe from this one. It's not as serious and looks like it's just having a lot more fun. So I definitely still plan to see that. But as for Longlegs, pretty disappointing. Alright, that's it. See ya.
Well, it's elevated horror. You know, it's like scary, but with complex emotional and thematic underpinnings. It's not just some schlocky cheeseball nonsense.
Shut up! Shut the fuck up!
Okay. Okay.